A lot of conversation about Islamophobia, and time and again, the conversation turns back around to, and in my opinion, education and what we don't know about what we're not familiar with sometimes can frighten us, and I don't think that's an understatement. And the more familiar we become with people, practices, and cultures, less likely it is that we will rush to judgment or jump to conclusions. Countering Islamophobia through advocacy and public education, a webinar that is poised to launch tomorrow at 3 o'clock our time. And the person involved with this project is here with us on the program again, the Communications Director for the National Council of Canadian Muslims, Amira Elgawabi. Good day to you and welcome back to our show.
Thanks so much, Sheldon. How are you?
I'm well. What about you?
Great. Doing good.
This idea that we can counter Islamophobia through advocacy and public education makes sense to me. How do you intend to do this?
Right. So I think, as you said in your intro, education is always key whenever we're trying to, change some public perceptions and attitudes. And unfortunately, we know right now in Canada that public perceptions of Islam and Muslims is quite negative. So the most recent surveys that we've been seeing, whether it's from Environics, a national survey that had Canadians, over a third of Canadians had a negative impression of Islam and Muslims. And a more recent survey for Ontario showed a much higher number, close to half of Ontarians had a negative impression of Islam and Muslims, up to half of Ontarians thinking that Islam promotes violence. So these are attitudes that are out there in our society, and understandably so. We know that, the media does focus on, the sensational stories. Unfortunately, when it comes to Islam and Muslims, that is the tragedies and terrorism that occurs in the name of the faith. So when the overwhelming majority of stories that we're exposed to and consuming about this particular, this faith community is negative, it's not surprising that people will have negative perceptions. The reality, though, is that the vast majority of Canadian Muslims are, contributing very positively to our communities, doing a lot of great things that, of course, doesn't make it to the front page news, but does mean that we have a responsibility to sort of help educate people about, really what Canadian Muslims are doing in our society.
Yeah, there's a saying in media: if it bleeds, it leads, and if it's a story that's tragic or dramatic or perhaps involving bloodshed, that it is an important story, or is at least a story that tends to get the most attention. I've said many times in this program, I don't ever recall someone calling me up and saying, I hear applause. What's happening? I'll get the call if it's about a siren or police on the scene somewhere. Is it fair for us to expect the Islamic community to have to defend themselves or to try and change the narrative?
Well, I would argue that, it's not fair. We don't, for example, ask, all Christians to explain, the terrible sexual abuse that has happened, documented in some parts of the church, for example. We don't ask for all white people to explain, right-wing extremism, which is actually the most serious public safety threat in Canada, according to security officials. That being said, again, it is understandable, though, when people are committing terrible acts of murder and crime in the name of Islam, that people would have questions. They would say, well, what is it then about this religion, that people apparently are taking some inspiration from? Those are legitimate questions, and I think in our communities we need to answer those questions. So it's not fair, but understandable, yes, and many of us are indeed willing to answer those questions and willing to be very, very clear that there is nothing in our faith that promotes or encourages violence. On the contrary, our faith is very clear, that to save one life is as if you've saved all of humanity, and to take one life is as if you've killed all of humanity. These are our teachings, and so it is our responsibility for us to be very clear, to challenge those who would purport to use our religion to further their own narratives that that they're justified, that they're doing something for Islam in perpetrating this violence. We do have a duty to challenge that, to show why it's wrong, and definitely be very clear about what our faith teaches us and how we live in Canada.
Given that during the last election campaign there was a lot of attention paid to clothing, and its relationship to religion. Have we gotten over that? Have we gotten past that, Amira?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Definitely the political rhetoric out of the last federal election campaign was extremely damaging to communities. The moment that the issue of the face veil, hit the front pages, and that situation where the previous government and the previous Conservative Party leader, Mr. Stephen Harper, was making a very large issue around, a woman's personal choice, that there were immediate repercussions on the streets. Women were being physically assaulted, verbally harassed. There was an increase in vandalism in Canada. And so certainly that had an impact. Have we moved away from that? Certainly we would always hope so. But unfortunately, what we have been documenting is a continued increase in the number of hate crimes and hate incidents being reported in Canada. Until today, we are up double where we were this time last year, for example, in terms of alleged hate crimes and incidents targeting Muslims in this country. So there's a lot of work to do still. Unfortunately, there's a lot of damage to be undone out of that previous federal election. We also know what's going on down south with the election campaign that's underway there. We are anticipating, unfortunately, similar types of divisive rhetoric that may be harmful to minority communities. And so we're extremely concerned about what that will mean. I mean, we share the airwaves with the U.S. We watch their news, we watch the talk shows, we read about, what certain candidates are saying.
This webinar, this opportunity to engage and perhaps educate, who are you inviting? Who's invited to this?
It's inviting everyone. It's being put on by the Canadian Council of Refugees and Amnesty International, and the aim of it really is to tackle the Islamophobia that, in particular, as well, in the previous months has sort of come to surface with the arrival of Syrian refugees. We know that with the arrival and influx of Syrian refugees coming and being welcomed in Canada by the vast majority of Canadians, that there have been, small pockets of resistance of people who will try to sort of make claims, again, based on, assumptions about Islam, myths about what Muslims believe, myths about, what, their values, etc. And so this is an attempt really to tackle some of those common myths that may be out there, and invite basically anyone. So already, registrations are really, really high. We've got people from all sectors in our communities, whether it's educators, government, just regular folk who want to learn about Islamophobia, want to understand how is this impacting people's everyday. And it is, we're not just talking about the harassment that occurs sometimes on a daily basis for some of us, who are especially those of us who are visibly Muslim, but also the discrimination that can occur, whether it's in applying for a job or seeking a lodging, an apartment, and being turned away and not being sure what was that all about. So this is really inviting anyone who's interested. It's a free webinar. It's tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, and the information is on the Canadian Council of Refugee website.
Well, again, I do appreciate having the chance to speak with you about this and to get these issues out there. And if we keep talking about it, maybe we can make it better. Amira, it's a real pleasure to again have you on the radio. Thank you.
My pleasure too. Thank you, Sheldon.